topic is
Okay,
big.
so we're live.
It's a big topic. The topic
Thank you
is
for being here.
big. It's a big topic. The topic
What I wanted
is big. It's a big
discuss
topic. The topic is big.
as best as possible,
It's a big topic. The topic is big.
at least for the beginning discussion, is what does, or can you tell me what comes to mind when you hear the term awakening? And I know that's a big question, probably. But I get asked that a lot. And for some of the people that may be listening to this, who may be going through an awakening, they may want to hear what it's like to hear somebody try and describe awakening and what it means to that individual.
So I think vocabulary is really tricky because I hear people use awakening in different ways. And I also hear people use enlightenment sort of interchangeably with awakening. And to me, there's two sort of different things. And I've actually done a lot of research on this. I was working on a book at one point and I was researching awakened people in history and also currently alive. And the definition that I was using for my research was someone who has had a knowing from which they cannot return back to what they did not know before, if that makes sense.
No, that
So
makes
they've
complete
had-
sense.
They've had some sort of mystical experience or some sort of like massive insight or some sort of unity experience where they suddenly felt connected to everyone and everything and saw the illusory aspect of life that many people buy into and believe is all there is to life.
Right.
I personally have not had that kind of experience, but I did have a big shift in my life, and it almost feels like I used to be a different person. And for me, it's been like a gradual enlightening or lightening up experience where I've let go of a lot of beliefs, let go of a lot of concepts and ideas and opinions about things. And that has resulted in feeling lighter and not having baggage and not struggling in life the way that I used to struggle.
Right.
I hear people who've had my experience call that their awakening. To me, that's maybe a kind of awakening, or it's a path to awakening, but it's not the final endpoint.
Right. Right. Would you say that, in your experience, that awakening can kind of be a butt kicking in a way?
Oh, absolutely. I think it really depends on when it happens to you on your spiritual journey. So I've encountered people who've had this spiritual awakening with absolutely no preparation, like just out of the blue. And for those people, it's a kind of a trauma because they still have a lot of conditioning that they have to undo to reconcile their experience with their life. And then I see other people who go down the path that I've gone down where they're intentionally seeking that kind of experience and they are gradually moving towards it, and then eventually they get to that end point where they realize that they're done and they don't need to seek any longer. And for people that travel that kind of path, I think it's not as traumatic. It's really just a big relief.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that, from my experience, were some things that fell away. For example, alcohol was a part of my life that fell away, as an example. So addictions or patterns fell away. Is there anything in your life that you recall, maybe in the early phases of awakening, that was something that you were struggling with that you wanted to change but couldn't change, or that changed, that was like, oh wow, this is some pretty powerful stuff happening here. Like I couldn't do this on my own and it happened for me. Does that
So
make
many
any
things.
sense?
Yes, so many things. Not addiction. I didn't have a big. I had these like really weird subtle challenges, not big, major, obvious challenges like alcoholism or drug addiction or those kinds of things, but things like worry, incessant worry. I used to lay awake at night, not able to fall asleep, worrying about how I was going to pay bills, how I was going to get things done. That's completely gone away for me. That's no longer a part of my life. It just disappeared. I struggled most of my life with doubt, a lot of doubt, especially self-doubt, where I would do or say things and then afterwards I would just ruminate. Did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Should I have said this? Should I have said that? And just kind of get stuck in this stinking thinking of going over and over certain situations in my mind. That no longer happens for me. I just move through life and deal with whatever's directly in front of me now. And the past is gone. It doesn't concern me.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't upset me. I don't give it any energy. I still have memories of things that happened, but they're not emotionally charged in the way that they once were.
Oh, that's a great explanation, or a great description, actually. So would you say that in your experience, the folks that you've talked to have that, where they have something big or like worry that falls away, or is there a common theme among people that you talk to where that comes up?
Yes, so I was very inspired to follow my personal path, which is A Course in Miracles, by a teacher named Lisa Natoli, because I heard her tell a story about how she had tried for years and years and years to quit drinking, and she would go to work and function very well during the day at the office, and then on her way home from work she would go buy a bottle of vodka, and then at home she would just be drunk every night of the week, and she would try to quit drinking and pour all the vodka down the sink and say this is the last one forever, and then the next day she'd just repeat the pattern. And she also smoked, so she smoked and she drank, and one day she woke up and the desire to smoke or to drink had just disappeared from her life, and she never drank or smoked again. So when I heard that story, I was like, wow, that's a real miracle. I would like to have miracles like that in my life. And so that was one of the things that really motivated me to follow the path that I have followed.
So you kind of brought up in the beginning where you're talking about awakening and enlightenment, alluded to being different. I get asked this question a lot, and I don't really have a good answer for it, and I don't know how to answer for it. But the question is, what does enlightenment mean to you? What is it? And I know what it means to me, but I would like to know what enlightenment, in your experience, if possible, could you describe in your experience what it means?
So for me, as I said, it's a feeling of everything being lighter and less serious. So prior to committing myself to a spiritual path, I was a very serious person. I took everything very seriously. I came from a family with no sense of humor. Well, I shouldn't say that. I came from a family that considered humor frivolous. If you were goofing off, it was not a good thing. And I didn't see the value in humor. And now I think humor is like the most important thing in life. I think nothing as serious is going on here, and taking it seriously is what creates all the pain and suffering. That is what I see now in my experience, that I took everything in life so seriously that it was a very heavy, heavy journey for me, and I made it into a struggle with my thoughts and beliefs about things. But now I I'm not attached to any beliefs or opinions about most things. I do still have some beliefs and opinions from my childhood conditioning, and I'm still working to undo those. But for the most part, I basically believe now that it's impossible to know much of anything. And so if you're extremely committed to a viewpoint or an opinion, you're just kind of making your own life miserable. There's no need for that. We can step back and say everyone's entitled to see things the way they see things, and if you don't see things the way that I do, it doesn't mean I don't have to like you or that we can't be friends. You know, we're all individual, we're all unique, and I also do feel that the enlightenment or awakening experience is unique to every individual. I don't think there's any cookie cutter program that you can follow where you can say this is how it worked for, you know, Ramana Maharshi, or this is how it worked for Byron Katie, and I'll do what they did and it will work for me. I think every single person is on their own journey, and it needs to learn to be still and listen to their heart and follow their own inner guidance. And it just plays out 8 billion different ways, just like every flower is different. Nature it's all about the variety. So, yeah, I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
for me, the enlightenment experience is all about everything becoming lighter, easier, more relaxed, and more joyful.
Oh, yes, certainly. If you could, if this goes against any of your ethics, I understand, but if you could make a recommendation to anybody who's starting to wake up or think they may be waking up, would you make a recommendation to anyone as to maybe something to avoid or not avoid?
I think my recommendation for somebody who's waking up is the same recommendation I would give to everybody, which is just be gentle with yourself and forgiving of yourself and kind to yourself. I think, and this may be different for men and for women. This is one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, but I think there's a lot of promotion of the idea that we need to spread love and we need to love one another. But you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else, because you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah,
and
that's a
what
good
I've,
topic. That's a good
I,
one.
I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on action and behavior instead of the internal, like, thought awareness of one's thoughts. It has to start with the thoughts first, then the behavior follows. If I have certain beliefs, I'm going to act a certain way. And I spent many years out in the world volunteering, trying to do nice things for people, trying to basically like earn salvation.
Right.
Not realizing that was what I was doing, just basically trying to be a good person. And it was coming to the realization that we're already all good people. Like, we're all born good people. No one is born, an evil axe murderer. We all start off as innocent babies. And we don't have to try so hard to do things for others. We need to try hard to be kind and forgiving to ourselves. And then when that happens, the actions naturally flow from a place of love.
Yeah, you hit on some really good points. Definitely big topics.
It's a big topic.
So, that's it. We're short and sweet. And thanks for coming on. And then we'll see you on the trail.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks, Theresa.